Hi, I'm Jacqueline, and the channel is The Meyer the Merrier. I have gotten a couple of requests on a couple of our videos about getting our visas to live here in Koh Samui, Thailand. We are a family of five who left Chicago in 2023 and moved to Thailand. Kind of open-ended, not really sure exactly when we were planning on going back, but it is October of 2024, and we are still here at this point. The visa situation for us was perhaps different than some people's situation would be. In our case, we would have been eligible, Steve and I, eligible for retirement visas because you only have to be 50 to get a retirement visa in Thailand, and that's the route that we thought that we would take. I contacted the Thai consulate in Chicago, where we lived, and asked them if that was our best approach and if we would be able to take our children with us if we went that route. The gentleman with whom I spoke said no, that he didn't think that was the best idea and suggested that we get the children education visas and that Steve and I piggybacked off of their education visas with something called a non-immigrant O visa. So just to give you an idea, I am not an expert on this. I've screwed this up a couple of times. I've done it wrong last year and I did it wrong this year. But I can tell you what we did, how we made our mistakes, and how probably it should have been done. So, there are lots of people who get visa agents, and that's something that you can do. You can find one in all over the place in Thailand. The school, if you're in a similar case to ours, the school that your children attend will have a visa office and they should be able to help you. But it's the communication sometimes can be a little bit off, and so you probably want to have some idea of how it's supposed to work before you go that route. When you want to come into Thailand, if you have small children, you can get one grown-up visa for each child. So if you have one child and two adults, that's not going to work for you to get everybody in on that visa. If you have two adults and two children, you're fine. If you have two adults and three children like us, we had a spare kid. So there was no issue for us. If you don't have enough children for the number of adults, then you're going to have to find some other way to get that adult a visa. And in those cases, sometimes you can do things like come in on a 60-day tourist visa and then just keep leaving the country. They are not really keen on that. You can get a retirement visa if you're old enough. You can get your own education visa. There's a new DTV visa for folks that are working remotely, not a work permit, but people that are working remotely and just having money coming into Thailand. So there are all kinds of options, but this option, because we had three children and only two adults, seemed to work best for us. In our case, we were not really sure where in Thailand we wanted to live, and we just started doing an investigation of places where the schools were affordable for us. And I have another video. I'll put it in the comments below and the details below, so that you can kind of see how you can find an international school any place, really. In our case, it was Thailand. So I found a school that was affordable, and I went through the process of trying to vet the school a little bit. It was a little difficult to do. You want to find some accreditations that are important to you. But once you decide on a school, then you're going to want to get the visa process started while you're in your own home country. Because if you wait to get to Thailand to get the visa started, it will be a lot more expensive. So do it while you're in your home country, and it'll be a lot less expensive there. But there are some time frames that you need to be aware of, and you can't let these things go until the last minute. So what we did, and this is where I don't want to say made a mistake, but where it cost us some time, children's passports only last 5 years. And we knew that our children's passports would be expiring in about a year and a half, which meant that we would end up having to come back to the United States to get a new passport, and we wouldn't really be there long enough to do that, or we would have to figure out how to do a passport in another country. So it seemed to me that getting a fresh new passport before we left the US was the best decision, which I stand by. So we got them this 5-year passport, and it took less than the 13 weeks expected, but it still took some time. At which point we went to the school, And we said, hey, we're going to go ahead and have the children go to your school, and what do we need to do? So they sent us the passport, the information to get the visa. It was a pretty simple list. So we committed to the school, and I got the invoice for the tuition. I thought, well, I have plenty of time. Let me keep this money in my pocket for a little bit longer and do some other things. And so that was a real mistake. So I should have just paid the tuition right away, got everything started, because things do take a little bit longer. Part of the paperwork to get the visas you have to get from your school. And the school can't just, I thought they would just write up a receipt and send it over. It's nothing like that. They have to do this paperwork, and then they have to send the paperwork to the Department of Ministry of Education in Thailand, and it takes them a couple of weeks to get that back. So, and if there's a holiday, it's going to take even longer. So it ended up taking a little bit longer for the paperwork to get back. But if you do this in advance, then you will get the paperwork back in time. You will go to thaevisa.go.th, and you can start filling in the e-visa requirements prior to getting that paperwork from your school. So if you go ahead and start filling those things in, you'll need things like obviously a picture of the passports. You'll need a couple of additional pictures, just get some additional passport type pictures. You'll need things like bank account. And at that point, you get this 90-day visa to come into Thailand in order to get your extension once you're here. Now, we didn't do that right, so we ended up coming in on a tourist visa and having to start the process over again, which meant pay the school a bunch of money so that they could do the visa process for us, which I didn't really want to do. Or you could, at that point, find a visa agent who would be able to take you out of the country and help you get the visa squared away and then bring you back in with your new visa. Or you could leave the country on your own, but it looked a little complicated, and because I had already made one mistake, I thought we went the visa agent route. You will get a list from your school, even if you start the process of getting this visa in your home country, which again will be a lot less expensive. You will get a list of things that you need from your school to extend that 90-day visa to a year-long visa. And so you'll want to get going on this as early as possible. You won't lose any of that 90 days by beginning the process early and going to immigration early. So the key things that you're going to need in order to get your extension is a bank account. And that bank account is the real stinker. Every forum that we see all over this internet is people asking, how do I get a bank account when I don't have a visa? Our experience was that we were not able to get any kind of a bank account until we had that initial 90-day visa. You will find people on the internet that come in on a tourist visa, walk into some bank somewhere on some street in some city in Thailand, and are able to open a bank account with no problem. And people will say, tell me what time of day and what street and what branch of what bank you were able to do this. And then they try to reproduce it. And I think sometimes they might be capable of doing so, but a lot of times it just doesn't work. People can do it. We could not. We had been to the bank easily 20 times thinking that it was just a matter of persistence, because that's what we were told. But in the end, when we came back into Thailand with our 90-day non-O visa, what we found out was we needed a couple of things: residency certificate from the immigration office. We needed documentation from the school explaining that, yes, we did have children in this school, even though we had the visas from our children showing that they were our children, and they have visas that are education visas. So there's a series of documents that you need in order to get this at the bank. My suggestion is that you go to the bank as early as possible. We waited hours, and then you get to sit down in front of the person that can get you this bank account. And then the person may say, oh, you are missing one piece of paper that neither the immigration office nor the school realize that you need. So you're sent on your merry way because you don't have everything you need in order to get it. So don't leave it to the last minute. Don't go late in the day. Don't go if you only have a few minutes to do something. But go ahead and put this money into the bank account. If you are getting a non-immigrant O visa, you only need about 500,000 baht to get that visa. The initial year that you get the visa, it needs to be in the account 1 month before you get the extension. So go ahead and put your 500,000 baht in the account. I have heard it said that you need to transfer this money internationally into the account, which is what we did. Now, I don't know anybody that has been successful doing it another way. What I know is we were successful transferring it. You can Western Union, you can Wise. There are other types of transfer services. You can get it wired from your bank in the US or whatever other country and get it wired to your Thai bank account once that bank account is open. But initially, just have some cash on hand. They took my American money, they put it in the account just to open the bank account. And then later on, I just wired the money in once everything was squared away. Once that money is in the account for 1 month, you can go ahead and get your children's visa extended, which is what we did. Then there's some additional paperwork. It says you need a statement to get the extension, a statement from your bank. It's not just like take your bank statement like it was in the United States. I mean, you have to go physically to the bank, again, with plenty of time. After you get the children's extension done, because they can simply be extended with some paperwork, some pictures, right through the school's visa office. Once that's done, then the school will, you'll get a list of things from the school to tell you what you need. And basically that one thing that you need is 1 million baht, 500,000 for each person, each parent, in an account for each person. And you also need to have that 1 month before the initial visa extension, the first year, but you need to have it 3 months prior to the visa extension year 2 and onward. So don't think that you have plenty of time, because you don't. If your visa is expiring at the end of December, you need to have that money in the account in September, and it will cost some amount of money. I don't think it was all that much. I don't remember off the top of my head. Let's call it $20 US to get this statement, and the statement will say that you have your 500,000 baht per person. Now, this is where we also could have done it differently. We do everything in joint accounts, and so we got a joint account with 1 million baht in it. We were able to get the visas using just one account for both of us. We had to have more than 1 million baht in the account on the statement, and we had to apply, both of us at the same time, in order to get the visa extension for 1 year. However, I will say that in the end, it is better to have 2 separate accounts, because if one of you does end up getting a job, like a work permit, or can work on some other type of visa, then you're going to have to separate accounts. And you can't just take somebody off an account, which is what we tried to do. You're not allowed to take somebody off an account, and so you have to start the process all over again of getting a new bank account. We weren't able to get the right bank account with the right amount of money squared away before our visa would have expired. Therefore, it's no longer an extension. We have to start the visa process over again. So it is in your best interest to simply get separate accounts from the beginning. And that way, if somebody gets a different visa after a while, then you don't end up having to do this whole thing over again. You just have done it once. But the children's visa is pretty easy to extend. There aren't any baht requirements for the children to extend their visa. So that's simple enough to do the second year. The difficulty comes into play where you need to extend the adult visa. You need to have that money in your Thai bank account prior to, 3 months prior to the date that you want to extend. I have seen a lot of people who have apparently a lot of money just go ahead and put their 500,000 baht in an account and leave it there, not touch it. They just leave it there. They don't have to worry about it. They live off of their other income or wherever it is. I don't think it's a bad idea if you have that kind of money sort of laying around, to just go ahead and put that money in the account and not worry about it. There are some fees here or there that come out of your Thai bank account. Like if you have an ATM card, there's a small fee, $10 a year or something like that. So you don't want to just leave it at exactly 500,000 per person or 800,000 if you're on a retirement visa. Give yourself a little bit of cushion just in case, there's some fee that ends up coming out. But if you have the extra money and you just want to let it sit there, that way you don't really have to worry about any of this song and dance that comes to extending. So I am going to put together maybe a couple of other additional videos just on how to do the thaivisa.go.th website, and that may be helpful. So hopefully this is just that kind of quick and dirty so that you can understand the process.